Hello, good afternoon, and thank you for having us. I have been the Historic Preservation Planner of the City of Key West for the past 6.5 years, and I have been doing everything by my own until the past 6 months that the city hired Kelly Perkins. So I'm not alone anymore. I'm pretty sure that many of you have heard me for years before, talking a little bit about HARC and talking about how overwhelmed I have always been, because we receive a lot of applications. We have a HARC commission, we attend public, we sit with realtors, we sit with potential buyers, we sit with a lot of people. I was just like doing all that job alone. So now at least Kelly is part of our team, and I am very, very excited about this. Okay. Can these be moved?
Or you can use the mouse.
Oh, come on. Okay, this is just like, many people understand what is HARC, but I want to talk a little bit what is really, really, really HARC. HARC stands for Historic Architectural Review Commission. HARC is agency created by the city. It's created by our charter, okay? It's responsible to review and regulate certain changes in the historic preservation districts, as well as building structures and property listed in the local Register of Historic Places and the National Register of Historic Places. HARC also review and regulate certain changes to contributing structures that are located outside of the historic district. So what does that mean? A lot of people think that HARC will just like look only for things that are visible from the street. That is wrong. HARC has jurisdiction on anything that a person does on a building and on their site. And I will talk a little bit about it. Our system has a commission that is just like constituted by 7 members. Those 7 members are nominated by the mayor and the 6 commissioners. One of the members needs to be an architect. Our actual HARC members are Michael Miller, which is the architect. He's the chair. Theo Glory is the vice chair. Richard Logan, it's a retired architect. Janet Hinkle is a person that lives in the historic district that is very interested in historic district. Richard McChesney, that I think that he's going to be doing a presentation. He's an attorney, lives also in the historic district. Mr. Brian Green, he's an architect. He doesn't practice here in the United States, but lives in Key West. And Lori Thompson, that is just like a planner. Kelly's going to talk a little bit about why we have HARC, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about process of what is allowed, what is not allowed, and how we review applications.
All right. Hi. So I'm here to talk about why do we have a Historic Preservation Commission. Pretty much in 1965, the House of Representatives of the state of Florida approved legislation recognizing the importance of Key West Old Town. But in 1971, the Key West Historic District was federally recognized when it was placed on the National Register of Historic Places. That is the federal inventory of places of historic value and significance, and it's under the Department of the Interior. In 1983, Key West Historic District was expanded to the current boundaries that we have now. Currently, we have 14 structures and 2 artifacts that are individually listed on the National Register, and we have 2 historic districts that are listed on the National Register of Historic Places. And then we also have 2 National Historic Landmarks, which are the Hemingway House, and then the U.S. Coast Guard Ingham Cutter. So why do we have an actual commission? Pretty much there is a program between the federal government and the State Historic Preservation Office. Every state has one to create a certification of a local government. Key West became a certified local government in 1991. To become a certified local government, you have to sign an agreement with your state historic preservation officer and the Secretary of Interior to enforce certain rules and legislation that comply with the federal standards of preservation. So part of that is our guidelines, which are based on the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation. This is the federal standards for preservation, and that's what our guidelines are based on. It also says that you need to have a commission that is adequate and qualified. The HARC Commission is the one that is sort of the ultimate decision maker for all properties and projects in the historic district. Also, part of our agreement is that we need to have a system of a survey and inventory. You can find the survey on the city's website in the HARC Commission. It's the 2011 survey. It's the most up-to-date. We also need to provide adequate public participation in the local historic preservation program. We are here right now to talk to you all about that, and including that the public can be in the process of recommending properties for nomination to the National Register. We also have to make sure that we're performing all responsibilities that were delegated under the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966. So this is sort of an overview of the legislation and policy that guides HARC and has helped create HARC.
Thank you. Okay, for us this is very important. I'm pretty sure for many of you too. A lot of people think that the Meadows is not part of the historic district. Some people think that from South Street to the south, there is nothing regarding, it's not part of the historic district. When Kelly mentioned in 1983, there was an expansion of the historic district. So since 1983, the Meadows, this has a pointer? Well, the Meadows is just like, which is towards the east of White Street, is just like part of the historic district. We're going to have available this map on your website, so you can just like make a reference of it, because a lot of people sometimes questions and thinks that the Meadows is not part of the historic district. Towards the east, you can see that there is a jogging between Washington Street and Bonfister. And interesting, there is an area in Bonfister where the houses towards the north of Bonfister are part of the historic district, but the houses towards the south are not. That is something that we may be correcting, because we look at buildings on a street, not as half of the street, one another. So that is something that definitely is one of the many things we have in the pipelines, just like to correct. When do you need to apply for a certificate of appropriateness? HARC doesn't do permits. That is very important. HARC review certificates of appropriateness. How appropriate is what you are proposing to your building or to your site. As I mentioned originally at the beginning, any building that is located within the boundaries of the historic district, whether it's historic or not historic, whether it's contributing or not contributing, and I'm going to make that distinction later on, the owner requires to submit whatever project they're proposing to HARC. Either staff can approve that project, or the project needs to go in front of the commission. Staff is not allowed to do denials. That is another thing that people think, that who denies a project in front of HARC. The only people that can deny a project that is presented in front of HARC is the commission. When staff reviews an application and we see that the application does not comply with specific regulations, with the guidelines, then we try to work with the applicant. If the applicant wants to keep on presenting that project, then is when that project goes in front of the commission. Also, projects that are proposing new construction, any additions, alterations, even though that they're just like in compliance with the guidelines, are what we call larger projects that definitely need to go in front of the commission. So for people that think that you need HARC just for projects that are visible from the street, that is not true. That is not completely true. If a person wants to do a swimming pool on the back of the property, and that property, that lot is located within the historic district, that swimming pool needs to be submitted to HARC for review. Brick pavers, same thing. Anything that deal with hardscape, lighting fixtures, even painting, repainting, changes of windows, projects that may just like be less than $500, where the building department, the building chief officer presented, they also require HARC. And the reason for this is just like that we need to make sure that whatever is done to a historic building or to a building that is in the historic district complies with the guidelines and the regulations. That is the only way that we have really to support and just like to be a good steward for what we have. I want to mention that interesting, we are just like, these are just like annotations on when you need to submit an application for HARC. Another thing I want to talk is what is contributing and non-contributing. Because a lot of people ask those questions, a lot of new buyers come and ask us about it. Contributing building is a building within the historic district that still have the value, the presence of what historically used to be. That contributes, that building contributes to the entire district because of the architecture presence that it has. Non-contributing buildings are those buildings that are just like non-historic or have been altered so much that when you look at a historic photo and you look at the presence photo, there is no difference. There is a lot of difference, and they really don't contribute. But still, anything you do on those buildings, we need to make sure that if you demolish them or change them or whatever, it will not be an eyesore or be detrimental to the surrounding buildings. I know that I need to finish, but I mean, there is a lot to talk about HARC for sure. We're going to be including this presentation with you. Last thing I wanted just like to show you was just like sometimes it's a little difficult when you look at buildings through time and you look beautiful buildings that are pristine, that are just like restored, just like think that that building went through HARC and went through a process in order just like to become what we see today. So.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions? We're on the planning department. Our phone number is 809-3973 and 809-3975 for Kelly. And we have an open door policy. Any questions, you can just like drop them. Yeah.
Yeah, there's been some talk with the city manager and yourself about having the people of Key West have some input on some of the guidelines and regulations that we have. When will that be happening? Is it going to be a meeting?
Yeah, just to let you know, now that Kelly is on board, I am just like dealing more with long-range planning, and definitely we are starting with specific regulations and new ordinance for signage. And after that, I am going to be opening, we're going to be opening workshops to start dealing with the new regulations for HARC.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank you. Great job.